Hello, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Kyla, and in this video, we are going to be talking about a lot of things, okay? We're going to talk about all of the books that I read in March, let you know my thoughts and feelings. There were some duds, but there were also some good wins. I'm also going to be going over my March reading stats with you. You guys seem to really be enjoying this, so I'm going to keep the train going. And I'm also going to go over my Q1 reading stats with you, which, I actually really enjoyed doing this. You guys know I'm such a numbers nerd, so this was really fun for me, adding everything up. I was like, ooh, look at her go. But also, I'm really proud of myself. So yeah, I'm gonna let you know all of the things today. We have a lot to go over. I'm gonna try to do it rapid fire, and yeah, let's just get into it. So let's first start with my March reading stats, because we need to cover that first before we talk about the quarterly wrap up. So I have my bullet journal here. I did my little spread here. Did I just drop my pen? What just happened? Nope, I got it. So in the month of March, I read 13 books and I had 1 DNF, and that equaled out to 4,031 pages, which is the highest month that I've had so far, which I'm gonna get into my thoughts and feelings on my reading so far this year when we go into the quarterly stats. So the genres I read from this month were mystery, thriller, romance, who is she, fantasy. I had 6 adult books and 7 YA books, which that tracks. 9 library books and 4 from my physical TBR. I read 10 of them audio and physically, a combo of both, and then 3 of them physically, which the 3 physically were graphic novels. I can't help it, okay? I just love the combo of both. I love the combo of both. I had 1 2-star, 3 3-stars. We are keeping on the trend. Oh my god, if you've been following me during my wrap-ups this year, that keeps happening. 3 3-stars. I don't know what's going on. We had 7 4-stars and 1 5-star. 6 of them were new releases and 7 of them were backlist. And lastly, I spent $15.99 on my Book of the Month membership, and that was all that I spent on books this month, because I actually skipped my Book of the Month box. There wasn't anything that I was super interested in, so I actually skipped my box. So that was actually just my membership from the previous month, if that makes sense. I didn't buy any books this month. It's crazy. It's crazy. So that means that I saved $108.08 by using my library and reading off my physical TBR, so go me. So I'm in a net positive of $92.09 this month, which is the highest month yet. Way to go. We love a library. We are so grateful for the library for making that happen, because honestly it just saves you so much money. If you're not using your library, please do so. I'm telling you, it's truly a game changer. So that's exciting. So that is my month of March. I had a very good reading month, very productive reading month, some wins, some losses, which we will get into all of the books, of course. But first, let's go over my quarterly reading stats. So let's start with the number of books that I've read. So far this year, I've read, not me holding my pen. Let's put that down. I feel like I'm gonna fling it at the camera at some point. So far this year, I've read 33 books and I've had 4 DNFs, which compared to last year is actually a lot slower of a reading year. I'm still on track on my Goodreads goal. I think I'm 1 book ahead of schedule, if you will, but I have purposely slowed down a lot on my reading, but I'm still feeling so super productive about it. I'm reading things that I want to read. I'm picking new releases that I'm personally interested in and not going with necessarily the masses. Now, sometimes they are with the masses because those are the books I'm interested in, but I'm really trying to be nitpicky about what I read and just read what feels good to me. And I feel like my reading taste is changing changing a lot because of that. So that's exciting. I'm excited to see where this shift goes, especially like in the romance department. Like, I am not a romance reader. I mean, I haven't been really. I've dabbled here or there, had a few that I've really liked in the past, but since starting like reading them a little bit again, I don't know, maybe might be the start of a new era, I'm not sure. But anyways, so yeah, I'm really proud of like how much I've slowed down while also still being really productive. And what I mean by really productive is those books have equated to 10,246 pages. What? That is so many pages. I love keeping track of it. When I added it up and saw the number 10,000, my jaw dropped and I was like, oh yeah, we're doing a happy dance, because that would just, it felt so exciting to me. You did not just see me do that. You didn't just see me do that. I'm just such a numbers nerd. I love this shit so much. It makes me so happy to like add the things up and see 10,000 pages. Like, before really getting into reading during the pandemic, I probably read way less than that in like my entire lifetime, okay? That's just saying something right there. So out of the books that I did read, 23 of them were library books and 10 of them were from my physical TBR. Now, I did go on to purchase a few of them after reading them. I didn't include that in here. I just meant like initially from the library. So 23 library books and 10 from my physical TBR, which like 10, that's still a really good number. I don't have a huge physical TBR. Like, literally it sits on this shelf right here. It's not that big because I read my entire physical TBR down to 0 last year. So I don't really have that many on my physical TBR, but 10, that's really good. That just means that I'm reading what I'm buying. Like, I'm not buying it and it's going on the shelf. Like, I'm reading actively what I'm buying. That makes me really happy. Not me picking this up again. I have read 11 new releases, meaning 2024 releases, which is actually a lot more than I thought. And then 22 backlist, which actually, like, that makes me really proud because I do want to actively be reading backlist books. I don't necessarily want to be reading all new releases. One, because that means I'm waiting longer for the books, because I'm only buying the ones that like I absolutely know I will love, like through and through, or they're authors that like I am devoted to. Otherwise, I'm waiting for the library to come through. So I'm really proud of that. And then I have saved, by using my library this year, $175.39, which, like, that is just so good. We're only in quarter one and I've already saved almost $200 by using the library. Amazing. And if you weren't aware, I take my prices off of like what the Amazon listing is. So technically, if I were like going Barnes and Noble, I would be spending way more and I'd be saving way more. But I took the prices because they're the lowest on Amazon. So that's like a rough estimate. You get what I'm saying? But still, almost $200. That's incredible. That is actually incredible. I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud overall of my reading so far. If you guys aren't doing this, I would highly recommend starting. I'm having the time of my life adding these things up and just looking at all of these numbers, and it's not making me want to read more and like go balls to the wall. It's actually doing the opposite. It's making me really happy about the pace that I'm going at, and I'm just really proud of it. I'm really proud of it. So those are all of my nerdy numbers for you. Now let's get into my March wrap up. I am gonna go in star rating order this time around. I think the past few months I've gone in like the order that I've read them, but I'm just gonna go in star rating order this month around because we just need to get them out of the way. So starting off with the DNF that I have was A Tempest of Tea. This is a 2024 new release. It is a YA or maybe adult. It's like bordering that line of like new adult. Fantasy, mystery, kind of gothic. It's like a heist story. It's being compared to Six of Crows, which I have previously DNF'd Six of Crows. I would say that it's like a medium DNF. I'm not excited to try again, but I do want to at some point. Although this book may have just solidified that this kind of story and the writing maybe is just not for me. And it's not to say that the writing in this book is bad. I was expecting more. So I DNF'd this at 103 pages, which a third of the way through, you know, we should have some things happening. The story should be developing. But in those 100 pages, all I got were just like an introduction to the characters and a little bit of a backstory of like why we're gonna be doing this heist. We don't have a plan for the heist yet. We are literally at the end of those 100 pages. The crew that was going to be doing said heist had just come together and they were just talking about it. I was bored out of my mind. I was so bored. And I went into this thinking like, oh, a tempest of tea, especially with this cover. I was expecting more of like the that just scared the ever-loving shit out of me. When your printer just turns on randomly? Oh my gosh. That just scared me. I was expecting more of the overall like tea shop vibes. I just was expecting like a little bit of coziness from that, but turns out it's not that. This also includes vampires. So you think that the atmosphere would be like absolutely incredible, but for me it was just like meh. I was okay, meh. It wasn't the most grabbing, it wasn't the most gripping. I wasn't immediately thrown into this world. So yeah, DNF'd. Moving on. I'm very sad about it. I don't want to talk about it anymore. This one also makes me really sad, and I don't want to talk about it that much. I really don't. So I'm gonna be quick. No One Can Know by Kate Ellis Marshall. This was my 2-star of the month. That pains me. That absolutely pains me. I love Kate Ellis Marshall, and honestly, the redeeming quality of this book is Kate Ellis Marshall's writing. It's so good. I have nothing to fault with her writing. This was just overall the story. I did not enjoy it in the slightest. In this one, we are following 3 sisters, and their parents died when they are young. They inherited the house. No one has been there for years and years and years and years. One of the sisters is going through some troubling times. She finds out she's pregnant, her husband loses her job, so they decide to move into said house, which is like truly like a mansion, really. They decide to move into the house, go back, and obviously it's triggering, it's bringing up a lot of memories for her, and then some things happen, which ends up bringing the sisters also back together and dealing with their past. And that sounds all well and good, but none of these characters were likable, and like, I don't have to love the characters if there's a plot that I'm really gripped by, or the story is really engaging, or I'm on the edge of my seat, and none of those things happened. This is truly like a family drama with a hint of mystery, and there is something that happens with one of the characters in this book. It is hinted at from when she is a young child, and it is dressed kind of sort of as she is an adult, but it's completely swept under the rug. And truly, she is displaying some psychopathic behavior, and they're just like, oh, it's no big deal. No, we don't need to worry about that. It's fine. We're just gonna ignore it. She's our sister. Sorry, what? No, absolutely not. No. That didn't work for me. That really grinded my gears. And then also, there was like, I wouldn't say a twist, but there is something, you find out something about the parents and their past, and it is one of my least favorite tropes on the planet. I think honestly, it's such lazy plot. I won't say it's lazy writing, but it's such a lazy cop-out, in my opinion. I just don't enjoy it at all. So anyways, those are my thoughts. I want to move on. I know she can do so much better. Her YA is incredible, so I don't know, and I loved What Lies in the Woods. I was one of the rare ones that actually really enjoyed that one, so I know she's capable. I will continue to read from her. This one just really made me sad. Moving on to my 3 stars, the first one that I have to share, I actually did a reading vlog for. I included this book and No One Can Know and A Tempest of Tea, so I will link that vlog in the cards as well as in the description, and that is The Fury by Alex Michaelides. This one I went into thinking this is gonna be a bit of me. This is going to be the book that really makes me fall in love with him as an author. Now, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed The Maidens, I think a little bit more than most people. The Silent Patient was just okay for me. Not terrible, don't come after me. It wasn't terrible. I enjoyed The Maidens a little bit more, but I thought that this was going to be right up my street because I'm a mystery gal. I really enjoy cozy mysteries. I love a good murder mystery, and that's what this is. So I was like, this is gonna be it. And I started this, and I really enjoy the writing style that's in here. Or at least when I first started it, I was like, oh, okay, it's giving everyone in my family has killed someone. We're breaking that fourth wall. I really enjoyed it. At least I started out enjoying it. I would say the first like 50 pages, and then it just completely went off the rails, and it's, in my opinion, not done as well as Everyone in My Family has Killed Someone. It just does not work the same. That book is like top tier, breaking the fourth wall. It's hilarious, it's funny, it's quirky, it's witty. This one is trying to be Everyone in My Family has Killed Someone, and it's not working. So that was my first kind of gripe with it. And then we go on, and we're going through this murder mystery. This is about a group of friends. We're following Lana, who is this famous actress, and she has this group of friends that come together and they go on this island vacation to Greece. And there's a lot happening behind the scenes. There's some scandal, there's some cheating happening in this friend group, and it all comes to a head on this island. And you can imagine we have a murder mystery. What does that mean? One of them dies, and we go off from there. None of the characters in here, again, are likable. I did not enjoy reading a single one of them, which again, I don't really need to love them, especially in a murder mystery. I'm like, well, you all could go, and that's totally fine. And I can still enjoy myself and have a good time. But the plot of this one just went absolutely bonkers, and not in a good way. By the end of this, I was like, really? This is what we're doing? Absolutely not. I just did not. So my enjoyment started out pretty good, and then it kind of flatlined, and I was like, okay, we're just here waiting for the reveals, and then it just tanked. So overall, I did end up giving it 3 because I can appreciate the writing. I can appreciate, by the writing, I don't necessarily mean by the writing style, but it's still good writing, in my opinion. So I can appreciate the writing. I can appreciate what he was doing. There were a few things that caught me off guard, but there was just too much play in this one, and that didn't work for me. So overall, I just had to give it 3 stars. My next 3-star was actually a graphic novel. This was Paper Girls Volume 1. I went into this so excited. So excited. This gives Stranger Things vibes. It's about a group of teenage girls who take over their brother's like paper route, and they go on, and there's aliens. It's a bit sci-fi. Totally gives Stranger Things, by the way. Like, the comparison is there, and I really enjoyed the overall artwork of this one. It's absolutely gorgeous. I, however, cannot let some things go in this one, and I will not be continuing in the series because I did hear that it does continue through the series. Now, this does take place in the 80s, but that does not give the author the excuse to write in certain slander, to write in racism and homophobia and all of that. We have a character named Mac, and she is dishing out homophobic terms, she is dishing out racism, and they are just like, it's just swept under the rug. They're like, oh, that's just Mac, it's no big deal, that's just how she talks. No. This was written in 2016, 17, I believe. Like, just because it takes place in the 80s does not mean those things need to happen and that it needs to be present. Absolutely not. So if it weren't for that, this definitely would have gotten a higher rating, but like I had to knock off so many stars because of that. I just can't overlook it. It made me really uncomfortable. It made the other characters uncomfortable to a certain degree as well, but then it was just swept under the rug and like, oh, we're just gonna ignore it. But it continues on throughout the graphic novel, and it's just not okay in my opinion. So while I liked the artwork and I liked the overall story, I feel like a little bit of it did go over my head because I'm not completely a sci-fi gal, but I still had like a good time. I can't ignore the red flags of this graphic novel. And then my last 3-star for the month was Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. This was the third Ali Hazelwood that I read, so I'll talk about the other ones a little bit later because they did get a higher rating, but this one was just okay for me. I didn't really like the characters as much as I did in the other ones, and I think I did make the mistake of reading them a little bit too close together because I did feel that they were really similar, but I tried to just kind of ignore that fact and know that I was getting myself into that and just kind of go with like the facts and how I was feeling. This is a enemies to lovers kind of situation. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm enjoying in romance and what I don't enjoy, but I have enjoyed enemies to lovers before. I loved the Hayden game, so I was thinking like, okay, you know, we can go into it thinking that like I've enjoyed enemies to lovers before, but there's just something about this one that didn't really like work for me as much as the other Ali Hazelwoods and the other romance books that I have read in the past. So I feel like you need to take my romance book ratings with like a grain of salt because I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't necessarily know my complete thoughts and feelings. There were parts of this that were cute, but our main protagonist really was annoying me. And one of my biggest gripes so far in the romance that I have consumed over the past few months is that I see this trend of the main protagonist, regardless of their sex or identity, being completely oblivious that like the other person has feelings for them. Like completely like, oh my god, that can never happen. Oh my god, they don't like me. They're just like acting a certain way. They don't like me. Like it is, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. And I don't know if this is maybe continued in romance and why I haven't really read a ton of it because I just find it so repetitive. Like there is no way that all of these people are completely oblivious across the board. Like why are we writing them that way? Why are we making them question I don't know. It's just, it really annoys me. I don't know. I'm gonna obviously continue to read some different romances and maybe it's just like in the ones that I have read and that I've been picking up. Oh no, but it's really annoying me. But overall, for this one, I just didn't connect with characters as much. I didn't really buy their romance as much, if I'm being honest. The steamy scenes were just like, well, okay, I was kind of skimming them. Just didn't really care. And the main protagonist was really annoying me at certain times, but there were parts of it that were really cute. There were parts of their banter that was really cute. The cat's adorable. Love that. Those are my thoughts and feelings, and that's why it was 3-star. Moving on to the 4 stars, the first one that I have for you is The Invocations by Crystal Sutherland. This one is a new release from this year that I was so excited about. This is a YA magical fantasy but thriller at the same time. There's a lot of buzzwords happening in here. We cover some witches, we have a serial killer. It's all very a bit of me, and let me tell you, the writing in this book was absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning. My jaw was on the floor, and if I had physically owned this copy, I would have been highlighting like a maniac. But unfortunately, it was a library copy, so I could not and would not do that. It was absolutely breathtaking. This book, well, let me first tell you what it's about. We are following 3 different perspectives. We are following from our main protagonist, Zara. Her sister was murdered and what is believed by a serial killer in the area. And then we have 2 other perspectives that kind of intertwine the story. And there's a lot of talk about witches and the occult and magical abilities and that kind of thing, and they all come together and intertwine on this timeline of figuring out, was her sister murdered by a serial killer, but they also have their own things that they are dealing with. It's kind of the general gist. There's a lot that happens in this book, and the ending, why it's a 4-star, was a little bit too drawn out and just went a little bit in a way that I wasn't expecting. Not that it was bad, it just went in a way that I wasn't necessarily expecting, and I enjoyed some aspects of it and I didn't enjoy others, and obviously I can't give it away, so that's all I can say about that. But what this book did incredibly well, and through the writing, was talking about how it feels as a woman or someone of a minority to feel like they are always looking over their shoulder, what it feels like to walk down the street or go to a store or be in a parking lot alone or what have you, just be out in the world as someone like that, and you are constantly looking around, scanning your horizons, scanning everything around you to make sure that you are safe and that you feel safe, and the lengths that we have to go through, or that you have to go through to protect yourself. This book covered that theme so incredibly well. There were so many paragraphs about this that I was just like, I feel so seen right now, especially as a woman. And for someone who absorbs a lot of true crime, this is something that I'm always thinking about. I'm always thinking about, do I feel safe in this situation? Am I going to feel safe in this situation? What's going to be my exit strategy? That, like, I'm always thinking about those things, and I know that as a woman that's very common, but also people of minority groups also feel this way in different situations, and a lot of the same feelings, but even worse feelings. It's just a lot, and this book covered that theme so incredibly well. There was also a lot of other darker themes throughout this book, so definitely look up trigger warnings. But the way Crystal Sutherland wove that into this book really just made me feel seen and, like, described the way it feels perfectly, like to an absolute T. And I was like, I'm going to remember this. This is going to stick in my brain for so incredibly long. I wish I had the book with me to read these to you, like some of the passages, because they were absolutely breathtaking. And if you've ever felt that way, or you feel that way going out into the world, you will definitely identify with this book in some way, and I just really enjoyed it overall. Like I said, the ending, not necessarily my favorite. I did feel like this was a titch too long, but overall, really loved it. And then we have 2 Ali Hazelwoods that I read pretty much back to back. We have The Love Hypothesis and Check and Mate. So The Love Hypothesis is an adult romance, Check and Mate is a YA romance, and I gave them both 4 stars, again, with a grain of salt, because I'm still trying to figure it out. What I will say is that The Love Hypothesis had me, like, kicking my feet. I thought it was so cute. I loved the fake dating in this one. I thought it really worked well. I loved their banter, and, like, you know that in every romance, towards the end, there is going to be that, like, miscommunication that happens, or there's going to be some sort of strain that happens or whatever, and I really liked how well this one was done. It wasn't just like that classic miscommunication trope. There was a lot of layers to the conflict, and I really enjoyed it, and I just loved the characters overall. I loved the themes of this book. I liked the nerdy science of it. And then, like, this was the first Ali Hazelwood that I have read, so maybe that's contributing to my 4-star a little bit, but I just had a great time. I thought it was fun. I enjoyed myself. I enjoyed this one way more than Love on the Brain. And then Check and Mate is a YA one. I didn't think I cared about chess at all, but this one was actually really fun to read. There were some issues with it for sure. I definitely think that there was a little bit of shame around the main male protagonist not having much experience in certain areas, and I think that that was weirdly done, especially like in a YA. I think we could have gone deeper into that or just have a completely different perspective on it. Did feel like he was getting a little bit of shame for it, where we could have gone another direction, because there's nothing to be ashamed of if you're not experienced in a certain area. But other than that, I thought this was a good time. I didn't think I cared about chess. This book was all about chess, but I really thought it did a really good job of not making the romance like the overall consuming part of this book. Our main character, Mallory, she has a lot of family life things going on. She's having a lot of difficulties, and I think it dove into that really well. I also really loved the relationship between her and her sisters, and I think that was explored really well. Also went into kind of like the kid having to take on a parental role, which I thought was really well done in a YA. So there were parts of this that I really enjoyed, and I just had like an overall good time. And there were parts of it where I was like, ooh, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. But overall, I had fun. My next 4-star was A Good Day to Pie by Misha Pop. This is the second in the Pies Before Guys series. The first one is behind me, Magic, Lies, and Deadly Pies. I loved it, so I knew that I wanted to continue in the series, and this is the second one. The third one is actually coming out, or is out now. I need to check on that. It's coming out real soon, if it's not out already. But this one was so fun. This one was purely like Great British Bake Off, but make it murder. This book was exactly what I thought The Golden Compass was going to be, which was that murder mystery that was supposed to take place on a baking show that came out last year that actually didn't take place on a baking show, like hardly at all. Like they were... Anyways, we don't need to talk about that. This one is exactly what I wanted that book to be. We are in the tent. We have judges that are quite like Paul and Prue, or Mary Berry, whichever edition you watch. But especially like Prue, because there's even a judge that is like, loves the alcohol in the bakes. If you know, you know. Also a little bit broody like Paul. And we just spend so much time in this baking competition and talking about the bakes and talking about the competition. It's exactly what I needed. And then you sprinkle in some murder, and it's exactly what I needed. It is very niche though. So if you don't like the Great British Bake Off, like at all, that's not your jam, you're not gonna like this at all. And while I do think that it could technically be read as a standalone, I wouldn't suggest it. I think you really need to read the first one before reading the second one, because you really understand her magic and everything in the first one and what she can do with it and how she can manipulate her bakes and how that comes into play in the baking competition. So I think that you definitely should read them in order. But yeah, I had a great time with this one. I gave it 4 stars. I cannot wait to continue in the series. And then another cozy-ish murder mystery, because that seems to be my vibe right now, that I read this month was Dial A for Aunties by Jessie Q. Sutanto. This was over the top, dramatic, and so fun. I gave this 4 stars. I thought it was such a good time. It was hilarious. It was exactly what I thought it was going to be, but like to no fault of its own. It was so incredibly well done. I laughed out loud so many times in this book. This book is not to be taken seriously. Like, it is not a serious murder mystery. This is literally the most dramatic, like, think Weekend at Bernie's, because that definitely fits the theme of this book. Know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about? This is like Weekend at Bernie's with some crazy aunts and a wedding, and it's just over the top, and it's everything that I wanted. I had so much fun. This is not going to be for everyone. If you are not looking for something that is absolutely bonkers, don't pick this book up. But if you are, and you just want to have a good time, or you just need something to like brighten your mood, perfect. This book is absolutely perfect for it. I do think I'm going to continue in the series. I have heard that the other ones aren't as good, but I'm going to let my own being be the judge of that, because I had so much fun with the first one that I do think I want to continue. And then my other 4 stars were some graphic novels, which I will go over quickly. The first one was Roller Girl. This is by Victoria Jameson. This is so cute. Again, another little niche read. Like I said, I'm really trying to just read for me this year, and this is totally up my alley. I found this at a used bookstore earlier this year for like $2. Oh, excuse me, $3.49. And the second I saw the cover, I was like, oh, she's coming home with me. Her with her blue hair. This is a middle grade and it is so freaking cute. We are following Astrid. She is going through a tough time with one of her friends. They're trying to figure out who they are, who their identity is. They're about to go into middle school and they're trying to navigate what their friendship is going to look like during that time. And Astrid's mom takes them to a roller derby one night and Astrid falls in love with it, but her friend not so much. So they have this kind of separation and they go off, and Astrid is really just trying to figure out who she is, what she likes, what it means to her. But like throw in roller derby and like that's everything that I ever needed and wanted and more. I love the roller derby. I've actually been to a roller derby. My husband took me a few years ago for my birthday and it was so fun, so fun. It is just as gruesome and dramatic as you would think it is, and I loved every second of it. And I just love the independence of this one and exploring who you are, and I just thought it was so cute. And I loved the like full circle moments at the end. I just thought it was absolutely adorable. So I gave it 4 stars. And the next one was Bloom. This is a male-male romance graphic novel being compared to Heartstopper, which like immediately I was like, yes, need to read it, but with baking. Could there be anything more me? I don't think so. I didn't love this one as much as Heartstopper. The characters and one of our main male protagonists was a little bit annoying to me. A little bit annoying. And the friend group I didn't love as much as the friend group in Heartstopper, but overall, I thought this was really cute. I really enjoyed the artwork. It's this beautiful blue theme going on. It's very summertime, and if you love baking and talks of baking, you will love this. If not, this one might not be for you because there is a lot of talk of it, but there's also a lot of talk about family and, like I said, friend groups and just figuring out who you are and like what your direction in life is going to be. Also talks about anxiety and depression and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of themes going on, but there is a lot of baking in here. So if that's not your thing, you might not enjoy this as much. But for me, and for someone who loves cozy, this was exactly what I thought and hoped it would be. And I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it, and I hope there is another volume. I think there's rumor to be another one, but it's not out yet. There's no dates or anything. So I need there to be an announcement like ASAP. And then my last book I have to share with you is one that I can't share too much about, so I'll just show it and say that it was 5 stars, and I'm gutted that it's over. I knew this was going to happen, which is why I put it off for so long, and by so long, I mean a few months. I just couldn't bring myself to read it and know that it was going to be over. I just couldn't. But like, now that I have, I'm absolutely devastated, and I want more, but there isn't going to be more. And I don't know what to do with myself other than like reread these a million times over. This is the sequel, if you didn't know, to Divine Rivals, which is one of my favorite books from last year. It was in the top 3. My top 3 wishy-washy, man. Like, I can't, it's a different day of which one's my favorite. They really were like the same across the board. This is the sequel and the ending to the duology, and I just need more. I love these characters so much. I love Iris and Roman so much. I love their love so much. I love the conflict in this one. I really enjoyed the story arc in this one. I love that we pick up pretty much immediately where the last one left off, and I just love the direction of where this went. I love the ending. It was perfect. I can't say anything about it. If you haven't read the first one, I can't say anything. It's gonna spoil it for you, but just know that I think this was a perfect conclusion. I don't think I would change a thing. It was heartbreaking. It was gripping. It had me on the edge of my freaking seat. The only thing that I will say is that the audiobook makes Iris sound like she is 75 years old. In this book, she is a 20-something-year-old. She is not 75, but the narrator makes her sound so much older. So I would say that these are probably best read physically than they are audibly, because it's jarring. I forgot about it, and then I put this one on and I was like, oh yeah. I've still listened to it. It's not that the audiobook is terrible, it's not Iris's voice. It's not by any means Iris's voice. She sounds so much older, and it's really unfortunate. So that was the only thing that I'll say. I didn't knock anything off for that because it's the audiobook, it's not the actual book, but that's what I will say. I think that these are better read physically than they are listened to audibly. So those are all of the books that I read in March, as well as my stats. Please let me know what your favorite book was that you read in March. If you read any of these, let me know your thoughts and feelings. But I would just love to know what your favorite book was that you read in March, and what was your least favorite, because I love hearing that too. I love a bit of tea. So dish the tea to me, okay? What was your least favorite book as well? If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Do not forget to subscribe if you are not already. Turn on the bell so you never miss a video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!
With you and I, the future is bright.